Stop the Scan campaign started about 2 years ago, and the full name is actually Stop the Scandal, and it's a collaboration between the Yorkshire Resist and the Racial Justice Network. And for context, for anybody who wishes to know more, about February 2018, the Racial Justice Network found or read an article on the Yorkshire Post saying that the piloting the police use of fingerprint biometrics in the streets, and this is basically police, if they stop you, that they can fingerprint you, and this has access to the Home Office records as well as the criminal record. After seeing the Yorkshire Evening Post, we contacted the Crime Commissioner expressing our concerns as a community or network of organisations and individuals, and we ended up having a series of meetings with quite a few of us at that point who are questioning the use, but how the ethical procedures that have been followed for these machines to be put out. And what we found out that there was 9 machines out already. We asked for data in terms of who'd been stopped, and we were informed that they hadn't been collecting data.
So how does the device work? There are 2 reasons the police can ask to stop someone and have their fingerprint. One is if they doubt their identity. So if someone gives identity and the police suspect this is the wrong identity, they can ask to have their fingerprint. Another is a suspicion of if a crime has been committed. If the police suspect of a crime, they can also stop and ask someone for their fingerprint. So, the device is also linked to 2 databases. One is the criminal record database, and the second is the Home Office database. This means that if someone has any immigration history or any immigration records, the device pings across to the Home Office and can potentially contact command and control. At this point, the police can detain the person and hand them over to the Home Office. We have also recently learned that the devices have been updated with COVID-19 penalty functions. This means that if someone is suspected of breaking lockdown rules, they can also be fined using these fingerprint devices.
"93% of respondents did not support the introduction of the Biometric Services Gateway to UK police forces. 96% believed that the biometric services are embedded in racial profiling. 89% felt police should not have access to immigration database, and 88% of migrant respondents said that they would not feel safe to go to the police for help or to report a crime. 29% were not aware of the introduction of the Biometric Services Gateway prior to this survey. 46% had prior knowledge through an NGO or activist group. 13% had heard about it through social media. 24% believed their privacy, civil liberties, and legal safeguards were at risk of being infringed upon or undermined. Overall, participants highlighted the potential of the Biometric Services Gateway to result in a failure of the police in their duty to protect basic human rights. Underlying these concerns is the continuation of a breakdown in trust between marginalized communities and the police forces which are supposed to be there to serve and protect them. We conclude that despite the technology used in Biometric Services Gateway being novel and awareness of its existence new to many members of the public, the technology of targeted policing is familiar. Stop and search techniques employed by police, though protected under different legislation from stop and scan, encourages similar discriminatory practices by police officers. Indeed, they come to embed them even further into police practice.
Concerns over privacy, civil liberties, and legal safeguards was the second most prevalent issue that arose in participants' responses. Here, there was a concern over whether the gathering and sharing of biometric data in this manner was ethical. Others were concerned over the reliability of the technology and legal safeguards around the processing of sensitive data. Another significant concern was the lack of information surrounding the fingerprint scanners. This was reflected in the number of people with no prior knowledge of the Biometric Services Gateway before this survey, despite their introduction since 2018.
Scope of police powers and fear of reporting to the police. Participants were concerned about the effect of the Biometric Services Gateway in extending police powers into immigration control. Here, participants felt this would create fear and anxiety, which could in turn deter people who have been a victim or witness of a crime from reporting it to the police. Many also felt immigration issues extended beyond the scope of police powers, and in doing so, hindered their role to protect those in danger. Furthermore, participants also highlighted the multitude of harmful consequences that come from deterring people from reporting crimes to the police. For example, if people fear seeking help from the police because they may end up in detention or be deported, this could result in trapping victims into domestic abuse relationships or exploitative working conditions without recourse to aid, support, or justice. Similarly, it means hate crime or assault may go unreported and victims of crime will suffer in silence.
Another prevalent concern in participants' responses was that the Biometric Services Gateway effectively criminalises migrants, as well as black and brown communities racially targeted by the police. A number of participants expressed their opposition to the introduction of the gateway and police accessing immigration data on the grounds that it treats migrants as potential criminals through the merging of police and immigration controls. The adoption of fingerprinting people on the street by police forces effectively transfers criminality onto them by replicating punitive tactics for control used traditionally in criminal investigations. Participants also noted how it has the power to label someone as criminal or deportable. These techniques of categorization are not new, but the technology is.
Firstly, so long as the issue of racial profiling exists within police operations, all mobile fingerprint devices should be removed from police usage. Secondly, police technology should have no direct link with immigration databases, and queries to command and control should be halted so long as flawed data still exists. Our third recommendation is a call to police forces to institute a firewall between victims and witnesses of crime and immigration enforcement. Our fourth recommendation is for the removal of the immigration exception in Schedule 2, Part 1, Paragraph 4 of the Data Protection Act 2018. This allows for data processors to set aside an individual's GDPR data protection rights should the fulfilment of those rights prejudice the maintenance of effective immigration control. Our penultimate recommendation is for the funding of community advocates and grassroots organisations who are supporting racially minoritized individuals and migrant communities. And finally, we call for the end of hostile environment policies which disproportionately impact black and brown communities.